All right.
This Crestwood Cadet Coach Conversation brought to you by Wilson Custom Tree Service. We're with head coach Justin Denner. And coach, last week you took on Independence, another tough team to start the season. Hung in there reasonably well, but a quality team pulled it out in the end. What were your takeaways from last Friday night?
I think ultimately I felt we progressed really well from week one to week two. Um, we took some really positive steps on the offensive side of the ball, moved the ball. I thought, fairly well. Still had some hiccups here and there, but I think starting to kind of hopefully try to identify an identity for ourselves on the offensive side. Defense was very up and down. Had some really good series, and then some not so good. But ultimately, when you play a high quality team that's got some really explosive athletes, that's going to happen. And for us, it'll be just shoring up some of the smaller fine details and continue to progress.
And granted, you want this total probably a little higher, but 122 yards passing, 121 yards rushing. Tough to get more balance than that, I guess.
Yeah, I felt we did a good job. Really kind of trying to take what they gave us. The first couple series, we tried to establish running the ball and it didn't work the greatest. They were kind of packing the box, and so then we were able to use kind of some play action game, rollout game to get the ball in Dylan's hands outside of the pocket, and he was did a good job finding Nolan and Ty and Dashel outside the pocket there to really kind of open things up, and then you were able to kind of go back to the running game for a little bit and then kind of seesaw back and forth, so ultimately it's being, more consistent in both areas, to get those values higher and put more points on the board. But, we definitely took a very positive step.
And Dylan's numbers in the passing game 12 of 19, 106 yards, two touchdowns, one going to Aiden Skoda, the other going to Ty Kodant. Overall, how has Dylan developed through these first two games?
Yeah, he's developed really well for us. Ultimately he hasn't played a game at quarterback and since probably freshman year. As a sophomore, he was playing D back for us and sitting behind Cole and Zane in the quarterback depth chart, so we didn't really need him there. And then same thing last year, and this year he's stepping in for a need for us here. And the first game he was really kind of admitted that the game was very fast, and didn't really know left from right, down from up. And, by the time he got through the second half, things started to slow down, and he felt much better, this week than he did this past week than he did in week one. And we're hoping that he continues to feel more comfortable and more confident. And, we have, that dialogue to figure out what he does well and try to get that going as, on our side too.
And Aiden, 100-yard rusher last week. That's always a cool total for a running back to get. And I'd imagine guys up front take a little pride in that as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And we had really, really tough sledding that first week. And, Aiden, really, really ran hard for us, really did a good job getting behind his shoulder pads. And, there was times where there wasn't much of a hole, sticking his nose in there and getting out 3 to 4 yards. And then, the next thing you know, he pops it out for 10 to 12, and ultimately we need to continue, developing that and try to, get that 100 to 120 or whatever. And, try to get some of our other guys a little bit more involved too. But, credit to Independence there for kind of making us one-handed. And, we just got to continue to work on, our basics to, keep getting better there.
Well, for the first time in 3 weeks, you get to have a home game this week, and it's against a rival as Decorah comes to town, a team you knocked off last year. What's impressed you about the Vikings to this point?
Yeah, I've been very impressed with just how solid they've played on both sides of the ball. Their offensive line and defensive line have really controlled things, in my opinion, and it's really been a strength for them. Last year, obviously, they were very young in those places, and you can tell the experience is there, which is obviously a good thing for them. I feel as though they're playing to their strengths. They do a lot of good things that fit their personnel and fit their guys. And so, you're going to have to be very fundamentally sound to beat a team like Decorah, no matter the year. But especially this year, we're going to have to be very fundamentally sound. Take care of the football to give ourselves a chance.
And this game is a lot about emotion. You finally get a home game here in week number 3, and you get it against a longtime rival. Can you play that emotion game a little bit this week to fire the guys up? Not that that's an issue.
Yeah, and we talked about that tonight with the guys that there is going to be some more, um, kind of a little pent up emotion with a game like of this caliber, just because we are playing guys that they've been playing since fourth, fifth grade, that they know and possibly see on the weekends and all that type of stuff, and that's a good thing. But yet at the same time, we can't let that control us, because ultimately then. If we make it too big of a deal, then we play tight, and then if we're playing tight, we're playing slow. So we have to let the emotion fuel us, and not detract from us, and that's a fine line. But ultimately we have to try and figure out how to walk that line effectively, to make it to our advantage.
All right, Coach. Hopefully, the positive steps you built from week 1 to week 2 can keep continuing. Keep your guys healthy this Friday night. It ought to be a fun one. Best of luck to you.
Appreciate it. Go Cadets.
Justin Denner, head coach of the Crestwood Cadets, brought to you by Wilson Custom Tree Service.